I hope all of you had a great Easter. It is Jeff Martin alongside the trendsetter Brian Berger. We are the High Spot Podcast, HSP Podcast, presented by Fast Break Coffee on the Give Us a Shot Network. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Man, I'm just watching Trendsetter. Before we even get to this, you can get hooked on these WWE shows, the WWE rival shows, and of course, got the Roman Reigns one that we're going to discuss too when we do our WrestleMania preview show. Man, these are just tremendous and so well done. I think we caught Randy Orton a little earlier this afternoon. We saw that one. I mean, we were binging on Dusty Rhodes the other day. So, I mean, if you get a chance to, and you're a WWE fan and you want to get into this WrestleMania spirit, you want to get psyched, nothing like watching rivals and, of course, WWE legends. But speaking to a legend in his own mind, the trendsetter, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of High Spot Podcast.
Listen, man, the closer we're getting to this, anything really is getting me psyched up for WrestleMania. And of course, A&E Biography does an amazing job with this, as well as their rivalry series that they do so well in terms of rivalries that I'll be honest, I might have forgotten about. Or maybe I did know about it, but when you go and learn more in depth about it, you become even more appreciative of what it was at that time. Rock and Austin, man, that is something that will stand the test of time. My favorite will always be Brett and Shawn because it was so personal between the two of those guys. And when it comes to biography right now, Roman Reigns has definitely been one I've been looking forward to watching. Randy Orton, man, that one was so in depth too that you look at somebody as talented as him and you start questioning, man, like it's like you see individuals that comes easy to them and then you're like, man, they're squandering opportunities and sometimes they don't get a chance to see it. Randy definitely did in this stage of his life. And man, the road to WrestleMania gets closer and closer the more we're talking about this, man. Before you know it, we'll be right there at the brink of Philadelphia. Not looking forward to Philly, but looking forward to the atmosphere that it brings and provides, Jeff. So yeah, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, it is WrestleMania week, folks. It is April. So let's get to it. Want to make sure you follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. And of course, we're also available on all podcast platforms, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, iHeart. We will be there. And during this week, make sure you follow with HSP on our social media where we will be WrestleMania week. But let's get it started, Trendsetter, with the SmackDown Lowdown. And let's talk about this past week and SmackDown. A little bit more timid, I guess, after a tremendous Raw, which we'll get into. Basically, the question was, did the final boss act on his own? And then Paul Heyman kind of basically just, I guess, basically told us that this was all Roman Reigns' idea and his plan. Glad we got that together, but I would have loved for Roman Reigns to have kind of, been in a little bit of footsteps and then zoom in on Roman Reigns looking down on a bloody Cody. But again, we still got blood and we still got The Rock beating down Cody. But would have been nice though if it wasn't Paul Heyman saying, just on TV saying, "Hey, yeah, we Roman Reigns is behind it." I would have loved to see Roman Reigns actually physically there. But is that enough for you to make Roman Reigns the centerpiece? Because for the longest time, he's kind of been in the background. You can take it as he's been pulling the strings, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They think that The Rock has been kind of stealing Roman's shine. What do you think, Trendsetter? I kind of think it's been Rock stealing his shine. And this does not make Roman Reigns any more the center of attention than he was even before this beatdown of Cody Rhodes.
No, that's true. For me, what I looked at it, I mean, when you eloquently said it in terms of you would have loved the final shot of Raw to be after the beatdown of Cody Rhodes to be, the footsteps or the feet or the sneakers, those Air Jordans of Roman Reigns being the catalyst of, oh, he was behind it the whole time. But I do like the fact, I mean, they gave it away and basically said Roman was behind it, but I would have loved to have had been something that The Rock kind of just did on his own. Because although this is something that he's doing for his tribal chief, Rock takes a lot of this very personal because as much as we will say this is Cody's time, is Cody's moment since he won the Royal Rumble, Rock feeling as if I had my opportunity now, Cody gave me the blessing and took it away and still taking it very personal that it was taken away from him by Cody and the fans. I would have loved to have seen if this was something that Rock just did on his own. He was collaborating with the bloodline behind Roman Reigns' back to create some tension there because, we know they're going to WrestleMania Night 1. The tag team match is going to happen. It just love to add just more, chaos to the fact that maybe Roman isn't that happy that The Rock's part of the bloodline, isn't that happy The Rock's around in general because he is stealing a lot of his spotlight. And so that would have been nice to be added in. It wasn't, but I get to the point. Is it enough though? Listen, we've been building this up since last year's WrestleMania of where and how it was going to be possible for these two to meet again. I think it's there. Last week's promo, the week before that, it fell flat. But you know what? I think it's falling flat because people are just tired of the talking now. They want to see the action. We're eventually going to get there. But I think right now, enough's been said, enough's been spoken. You can't keep building this up any more than it is right now in terms of making it personal. So right now, I think everyone's just waiting for night 1 and night 2 to finally get the score settled.
Yeah, I kind of like what you're talking about there, referring to The Rock kind of undermining Roman's authority and doing this on his own. Or I would have liked it too if The Rock did it for Roman, right? Kind of like Rikishi did it for The Rock, you
I
know?
did it
Kind
for
of,
The Rock.
yeah, kind of in that aspect, trying to get his approval. Either or. But here's your thing, though. Do you feel like Roman Reigns has been in the background and not at the forefront?
To a point, I do. I mean, I think
Much, too little? Like, what do you like? How far? It just okay? Because I think he's been a little bit too in the background.
it's been a little bit too far in the background. Yeah, I mean, I get your point, Jeff, but at the same time, you're just trying to protect it. You're trying to protect your main event here, and by adding these other caveats. Listen, at the end of the day, and we'll talk more about this as we break down the card for our WrestleMania preview. I can't believe I'm actually going to say that, our WrestleMania preview show. A lot of things were changed about what was going to happen here. I mean, granted, yeah, we knew Roman and Cody after Cody won the Royal Rumble was most likely going to happen, but then a lot of other things happened that changed things around. And when you throw The Rock in the mix and things like that, the person that gets lost in the shuffle is Roman to a certain degree. But I think at this point right now, where the WWE has built Roman Reigns, I think you can afford to do that because at the same time, if you continually put him out there, it was always a scenario where he wasn't on TV that much to begin with. And granted, you wanted to do that more towards WrestleMania and build it up even more, but at the same time, less is more, as the expression goes. So I don't really feel it's hurt Roman particularly. I just think when Roman's gone out and now has done promos on his own, when you compare those to what Rock's been doing to build this up even more as a huge obstacle for Cody to overcome, Roman's kind of, in my opinion, fall flat a little bit. So right now,
Their face to face that you mentioned last
yeah,
week on SmackDown, well, 2 weeks prior to when they had that face to face, and you were kind of like had this build up going. And especially after The Rock and Cody started getting really personal, you had the Rock concert, and then you had Cody, saying, little dick syndrome, basically. And then you're looking for this encounter between Roman and Cody, and you kind of got a little bit of a flat end there. And you're like,
because the catalyst has been The Rock. The Rock's been doing all the work in terms of going the back and forth with Cody and not Roman. Is it done by design? I don't know. I mean, it's up for debate, or I would say probably, yeah, it is. It's done by design, but for good reason. I think the less is more. The less we see Roman, I think now at this point, to the stage of WrestleMania, the better it will be. Obviously, the go home shows, you're going to see Roman there. There might be some altercation with Cody, but I think they've played it well enough. Besides that blunder that happened a couple weeks ago, you played it well enough where we've seen enough of Roman, and it's been enough to satisfy the fans because ultimately everyone just wants to see Roman and Cody face to face and end it one way or the other. Either Cody becomes victorious or Roman continues his historic reign.
what about the fact that a lot of people after that Cody and Roman face to face, a lot of people on social media took to social media to voice their displeasure, saying, you guys, there you go. You wanted Roman and Cody, where the money was Rock and Roman. It fell so flat that people literally went on social media and were like, "See, and you guys wanted Roman and Cody too. You should have had the Rock and Roman Reigns." That's to the point that it got to in that face off. A lot of people were cringing. A lot of people actually were voicing saying, "Listen, this is what you guys wanted. Blame yourselves because we could have had the Rock and Roman Reigns in Philadelphia instead of probably Minnesota, and now we're getting Cody and Roman too." So,
Well, what I would say to those individuals, Jeff, honestly, and this is pretty logical here, and I'll take something from what John Cena said when it was originally Cody and Roman, the place was selling out because people wanted to see this. When Rock was added into the mix because certain things happened on the outside that were uncontrollable, injuries occurred, and people were kind of scrambling last minute, it was exciting regardless. So ticket sales haven't been affected when Rock was in the picture, when people were upset that Cody was kicked out. And ticket sales have not been withdrawn and haven't been refunded to Philadelphia because Cody's in this situation. So a lot of people are just throwing a lot of loop people who are upset that Cody was kicked out. And now the people that finally have Cody in that position and the ones that wanted The Rock in it, it's just back and forth. Welcome to the wonderful world of the internet wrestling community where everyone just wants to take a jab at everybody else. At the end of the day, it's a sold out arena. It's on the back of Roman and Cody right now. So everyone just accept it. That's the way it is.
Well, I will say The Rock has a little bit something to do with it, but you're right. It was originally Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. That was a plan until The Rock was able to get his schedule clear, and then we found out that he was going to be part of it. But obviously, he right now is the one leading this road because it's been all Rock. And I will say one thing: watching the Pat McAfee interview with Roman Reigns, I think that's when we saw him shine. I think that's the first time when I was like, all right, here you go. Here's your opportunity here. You're not behind The Rock. You're here actually talking about your legacy, talking about that he's nowhere near done. And there's a lot of stuff here that I'm just, I guess, from watching the biography that's coming up to the little segments that they break down to Paul Heyman talking about how this is just the middle innings. Okay. Middle innings. We're not even, close to where we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that we were in the bottom of the ninth and Cody's got 3 balls, 2 strikes. You got Paul Heyman saying that they're nowhere near done. You got Roman Reigns going on Pat McAfee saying that he's still going to be in WWE for a while. So a lot of questions now. And then what I wanted to touch on too is whose story is going to be defined? Who's going to finish his story? Because not only does Cody have a story, looking back in Philadelphia, which I just totally really did not look really deep into, Roman Reigns has that story as well. Booed tremendously off after winning the Royal Rumble in 2015, even with The Rock's allegiance and his vote of confidence and his stamp of approval. He got booed out of that building. His biggest moment, his biggest party, the soundtrack was the chorus of boos by the fans not approving, not acknowledging Roman Reigns. And it's going to come full circle, in 9 years, almost 10 years in the making, where he goes back to Philadelphia. And not only does Cody Rhodes have a story, Roman Reigns has one to finish too.
Well, if we're talking about the Roman Reigns story, then let me go here and play the world's smallest violin because it was because of those things that happened for him, which was the catalyst of where he is and why he is the person, the performer he is today. Because if it wasn't for that adversity, if it wasn't for that polarizing atmosphere that, if we can compare it to something else, it'd be similar to John Cena, right? Then Roman wouldn't be as good as he is. And he wouldn't have had to figure things out the way he had to figure things out in the midst of a pandemic to finally become what he is now, the tribal chief and the most dominant champion of all time. So yeah, you're right. In terms of there is story there from The Rock to Roman and now Cody, obviously trying to finish his story. At the end of the day, something's going to happen. This chapter in this rivalry is going to close one way or the other. In terms of this is a vindication for Roman, I guess you could, if you want to draw that conclusion or kind of convince me of that, I understand it makes some sense and makes some point too. But honestly, I don't think anybody else would really pay too much attention to that because he's just been so dominant. If we're going to look at the fact that this is his validation for everything he's done because of this singular moment, which was one of many issues where people did not want him to be the guy because the machine was behind him under the old regime because there was resistance that you're force feeding Roman Reigns down your throat. Yeah, you just convinced me of that. But to me, the story of Cody is more intriguing than is Roman because of Roman's dominance. That a lot of what you said, which I get, and you said very well, gets overlooked, I feel, because of his dominant reign and his stranglehold of the WWE because he has been the face since that moment and where he became back during the pandemic as the tribal chief. He's been the face of WWE.
Now, when we review this biography, we'll see if exactly it's foreshadowing what we're going to see at WrestleMania. So again, that is something that I don't think we should overlook, especially heading this week into Philadelphia. One other thing too to come out of SmackDown was we got a few more matches for WrestleMania. We got Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee will team up against Santos Escobar and Dominic. I wish there would have been more lead into this. I know you have to focus on all your matches, but it seems like this one was just a little bit put together.
I just feel like they're running out of time right now.
I would have personally put all the LWO and all of Santos Escobar's people together and make it this big match. But I think we're getting like a schmaz anyway. Schmaz, the way Bret Hart calls it. I think we're going to do that. So I think everyone's going to get involved. And then also, too, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi against Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Let's talk about the storm has arrived, Trendsetter. Jade Cargill, an impressive debut on SmackDown. I would say, I know a lot of people want to compare it to the debut of Mercedes Moné, which we'll discuss too when we talk about AEW Dynamite. But just in itself, because we're not here to just nitpick and tear anyone down. On itself as a whole, what would you give it? I thought, to me, she has star power, and I think that they did a great job in her first appearance. The promo, I believe, was solid. Just your thoughts. What did you think of Jade Cargill, the whole package that you got on SmackDown?
Listen, from the package they got on SmackDown to the package that they got the Royal Rumble, it's still the same thing. She looks like a star. She walks around like she's a star. She gives you that impression about her. So, success. But in terms of her teaming up with certain individuals, I hope it's a one-time thing. Just because I think Jade's a better heel than she is a babyface. I think it's nicer to root against her theoretically as a character than it is to root for her. So this whole thing leading to WrestleMania, I understand why they're doing it. I get it. You give a spot for Damage Control. You're giving a spot for Bianca because she really has nothing going into WrestleMania, and neither does Naomi. So here we go, 3-on-3. I understand it. It's more of a showcase type of battle. Everyone's getting a chance to participate in this. But in terms of Jade, listen, she has that look. She has the appeal. You look at her and she has that, whatever you want to define as an it factor, to be an it factor. The biggest question mark has always been and will always be, can she perform in the ring? Can she live up to the hype that the WWE, or at that time AEW, or whatever the case might be in terms of vignettes and promos, can build up? Because you have to be able to do it. Now, I'm not saying she has to be this amazing wrestler, but she has to be able to carry her own weight, and she has to be able to go in there with some elite athletes and some pretty good wrestlers. And I hate to bash the rosters here, because they're apples and oranges in my opinion too. But when you look at an AEW roster and you're looking at a WWE women's roster, both very stacked, but the level of competition is definitely increased. So you have to be able to hold your own. That would be the biggest question mark with her. But in terms of appeal, look, what's presented on TV, it's a home run. She could just stand there and you would pay money to see her because she's that much of an attraction.
That, like the wrestler says, she has this aura, right? That's the word also too that I've heard this past week to describe her debut, or her, obviously her which will eventually be her in-ring debut officially in a match, not the Royal Rumble match. But I will contradict one thing you said, Trent said. I don't think this is a throw in and just putting everybody together. I think obviously for the culture, a lot of people are digging this. They actually on social media are posting, you have 3 black women to close out a SmackDown. And obviously, I think that this is something that means a lot to a lot of people. And I honestly think that, Bianca and Jade, man, what a crazy tag team that is. And there's also been showing people saying how Naomi was very much idolized by Bianca and Jade Cargill. So this to me is going to be a very good matchup. I think the entrances are going to be amazing. And I really am looking forward to this 6-woman tag team match. A little bit, I'm going to say it's not just, I know you didn't say a throwaway or just put together, but I think this is going to be one of the best matches on that card. So, Trendsetter, SmackDown, obviously, it was not as, I guess it was just more like, let's just get through this one until we get to the big one coming up at Wells Fargo, where we're going to see the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is brought back. And then obviously we'll see who wins that one. I know guys like Chad Gable, Nakamura, Andrade, and Bronson Reed are in it. So we'll see who wins that matchup. And obviously the Hall of Fame. And that just starts to the end of the week as we start getting into WrestleMania mode. But now let's talk about a breaking news, and that is that Cody Rhodes has re-signed with WWE. Now, it happened this weekend, and it was with an interview with Justin Walker, so we want to make sure we give him the credit. But Cody Rhodes, Trendsetter, is then, now, and forever. I don't want to say, WWE, but I want to say he's then now forever together. Signs a multi-year deal. I guess this was inevitable. I know a lot of people talked about how he signed it maybe before that, but he kind of made it official this week. And with Cody in the fold for a long time, everyone's saying too, well, that doesn't mean the story has to end at WrestleMania. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that's it. He's definitely finishing the story at WrestleMania. It could go either way. I'm just happy that Cody is back in the fold. And it just, to me, I guess, amplifies or solidifies my theory on Cody Rhodes. I think that when he left WWE, it was with a purpose. I think that the whole time it was, I'm going to show you Vince. And yeah, I said the word Vince. I'm going to show you Vince. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to disrupt everything like Triple H said. And I'm going to come back. And I think everything was done with the sole purpose of coming back here to WWE because at the end of the day, as he said in his documentary, it was his home. And he has nothing but fun memories with, the Bucks and Kenny and Tony Khan and all that. But then at the end of the day, Cody Rhodes bleeds WWE. And it's obviously evident in that. And you can't tell me different or you can't tell me otherwise that Cody's whole purpose, his whole goal was with WWE at the end of the tunnel.
Listen, I think at this stage in the game, Jeff, when we're looking at, you're talking about the Roman Reigns biography that we're looking forward to watching, we'll talk about during WrestleMania preview, and we'll dissect it to a certain degree. And you're trying to use it as a manner for people to think, well, now if this is vindication for Roman, that he wants to validate that time that he had at Philadelphia with this one, to validate everything in terms of everything that's happened to from then to now. Maybe Roman's going to win it now because it's building up to that. Cody Rhodes in his story from 2 years ago coming back and ultimately wanting that WWE championship. And this is what's been building up this entire time till Cody's got to win it. He won the Royal Rumble. Who wins it twice in a row now besides the Mount Rushmore of who's won it twice, right? And now Cody Rhodes signing an extension, a multi-year deal. Now people are saying, oh my God, now that's the proof we need. It can go either way. It doesn't really matter in terms of, I don't think,
right? It's what you love. You
it's what you
love
love, but I say it doesn't matter in terms of, it doesn't dictate where this is going, whether he signed an extension or he didn't. I think this is more for Cody in terms of him continuing his legacy, whether he wins the title or not at WrestleMania. This is more of just Cody feeling at home and feeling he still has a lot more to offer before he hangs up the boots. He's made it publicly known prior to this that, by the time he's 40, he really wanted to retire because he saw how his father had dealt with all the aches and pains, and he didn't want to do that in terms of now he has a family of his own. Of course, that time has not been extended now for an additional multi-year. So, can't take anything away from Cody. Most people don't reach their prime until into their 40s, where Cody's approaching. So I don't think that or the Roman thing dictates what's going to happen at Mania, but it's great to talk about because it gives you that level of unpredictability and things that you and I are talking about this, and we'll be debating this. I'm sure a lot of other people will be debating this till the end, till it's the 0 hour.
Exactly.
That's what it's about. It's great conversation. It's great little plugs or Easter eggs where you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that about Roman. Oh my God. Or Cody just signed it. Oh my God. It's just great. It's great for business is what I say.
Again, I cannot wait to get into that atmosphere in Philadelphia and hear everyone's theories because I think what you're talking about is great because we're all talking. I'm not going to go with the expectation that Cody's going to finish the story. I'm not going to be that same loser with my Cody tracksuit. Like I did
Bringing it with you. You're bringing it with you.
expecting the story to be over. I'm going to enjoy it for wherever it is because now I know that because if Cody lost, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to go to AEW. Oh, he's not happy. No, now I know that he's in the fold at least. I know that this story will eventually be told someday. But it'd be nice if it was in Philadelphia, or maybe it'd be nice if it was someplace else or where it made more sense. But I listen, man, Philadelphia, I think, has more of a connection with Roman right now than it does with Cody. So be careful if you expect 100% guarantee that Cody is finishing this thing at WrestleMania. Just want to make sure. I don't want to ruin your experience. I want you to have fun, but don't go there with expectations because this has been a year or, heading into WrestleMania with the most unpredictable WrestleManias of all time because you just don't know where they're going. And that's great. And that's awesome to talk about because we don't know. That's the best part. We don't know. All right, Trendsetter. So let's go. And, I think I want to get to this one before I do anything else. And that's talk about how great Raw was. Because coming off the face-off with with Cody and Roman Reigns, coming off of that, it fell flat. And I was like, well, we got to have something. We got to have something. And no better place than to have that stir potting, that pot stirring actually, than in Chicago. And obviously, we got Cody. We had everyone pointing to the sign. Let's just tell you how Cody is over, because you had 15,000 people pointing to that WrestleMania sign. So he's got them. And then all of a sudden comes out The Rock. The final boss comes out, and then he slowly, methodically walks into the ring. The fans are going nuts. They're cheering because they're going to see The Rock. Then he makes his way up, and the man does not say a word. He whispers to Cody. And at the end of the day, we found out that it was going to be, I'm going to make you bleed, to that extent. And you saw that puzzled look by Cody. Great job by Cody, wondering how the heck are you going to do this, Rock? And then we got that image of seeing like a much bigger much bigger Rock there. I mean, looking jacked, looking amazing. And then he walks away, and then he leaves it all on Cody trying to explain what the heck just happened. Less is more, trendsetter. Just the thought of seeing The Rock and just come out with that amazing. I love the stage. It was just like The Rock's coming out with the thunder and lightning. What a moment it was. And it was the precursor to one of the best Raws in a long time.
Without a question, one of the best Raws I've seen in a really long time. And when you're talking about a 3-hour show where there's always ups and downs, so you'll always give it a B plus or a B or an A for effort, right? This was an A plus all the way around. From the moment where Rock and Cody had their moment in the ring, for the duration of the entire show, in my opinion, it never lost a beat. The crowd was into it. You could also say, oh, it's a Chicago crowd, it's a wrestling crowd. Regardless of that, the crowd was involved in everything that was presented, whether it was a backstage segment or something in the ring. And sometimes we have a segment like that with The Rock and Cody. Usually the next match that's to follow that falls flat. It did not fall flat with Ricochet. And no, it did not fall flat with him. And it just continued on the momentum. And then the end of it too is where, again, this is where the exciting part comes, where I feel this is where I'll give credit where credit is due. I think WWE does a great job in terms of their production, in terms of the beat down that Cody was getting from The Rock. They go through the back, and all of a sudden you see a truck promoting a liquor for The Rock, and then all of a sudden you pan out to the right hand side as they're walking further towards Cody's truck, his bus, and all of a sudden you see a photo of John Cena, and you see a photo of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, it was Easter.
There's an Easter egg there.
Is Easter this past weekend. Those Easter eggs that Triple H loves to put out there. What did you think about it? Did you? WrestleVote said that those were done for a reason. Can you imagine WrestleMania and some way John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin come out? My God.
Listen, man, I've said it to you before. I think WrestleMania 17 was the greatest WrestleMania that I could ever recall. But I think right now, what's on the horizon, with the possibility of what could be going down on night one, especially in night two, WWE, I think, is going to be pulling out all the stops. And it's going to be one of the biggest things we've ever seen in a really long time. And it may or may not happen, but the mere fact that we're talking about it, the mere fact that we're presenting it as a possible viable option that, believe it or not, and when you talk about logic in pro wrestling, you always lose, right? But it does make sense. Who's been the biggest advocate for Cody Rhodes? Stone Cold Steve Austin, a guy like John Cena too. Those could be individuals who are on Team Cody. We have all these people against Cody, all these people working against him. The final boss, The Rock. The Rock has some history of those two individuals too. So it's like, we have seen that this could possibly be a foreshadowing of could happen at WrestleMania. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. But again, it leads us to talking that it is likely that it could happen. So, dude, an amazing end of Raw, and also at the same time, it just creates more of that brutality where if the beatdown happened, took out the white belt, had the Mama Rhodes on it with blood on it, and basically ending it with the beatdown, made me look at you. I looked at you right after it was over, and you had this look on your face like, whoa.
Oh, okay. Don't get any ideas though, Trent. I got to make it to Mania, so maybe you can.
Yeah. Well, there's no guarantees after Mania is over, of course. But that look on your face, like, man, this is getting brutal, which is, I think, is the perfect message that Rock was trying to send out, that this is going to be one of the toughest fights, the fight of Cody's life, which is going to happen at WrestleMania. And for a guy like The Rock, who's so gigantic and towering over Cody, it seems like an insurmountable mountain to climb.
Would have loved for, again, would have loved for Cody to be his face on the ground, trying to not even pick himself up, having The Rock stand over, and then all of a sudden, like, you see Cody's pressed his face pressed down, just his hands reaching out, and then he touches these boots, or he touches those Air Force Ones, right? Or he touches those Jordans, and he touches it, and all of a sudden you zoom up on the pant leg, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns crouches down, and he doesn't have to say anything. He just looks at Roman. He just looks at Cody, and just looks at him like that, with that chiseled face that Roman has, that statuesque face that he has, and just looking and observing, and then Rock and Roman walking away. That would have been the coup de grace, I guess, too. But and I don't even want to nitpick on that. I don't even want to nitpick the fact that where the heck was where was Jey Uso and Seth freaking Rollins, and the fact that nobody else wanted to save Cody Rhodes, and the fact that he's probably the most hated man in the locker room, which everyone's theory was because no one helped out Cody Rhodes. But do you really want to mess with The Rock? Do you really want to mess with the Bloodline now heading to WrestleMania season when everybody's worried about their own matches? Cody's got to, Cody's got to realize, hey, I got to worry about myself here. I can't be saving the day for Jay. I can't be saving the day for Seth Rollins. I got to focus on my stuff too. So you can nitpick about all those things, but at the end of the day, that was a tremendous Monday Night Raw. But not only did we get that trendsetter, we got CM Punk back in Chicago, and then we got him in what I think was the best promo segment so far in 2024 between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. You know why, trendsetter? Because just you were talking about Shawn and Brett being one of your favorite rivalries, because these three men, I gotta believe, really kind of don't like each other, or at least can tolerate each other enough that they can do business. But business is almost broken between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And then, of course, looks like Seth and CM Punk kind of have a little bit of less animosity. But I'm telling you, the best part is when it gets real. And it almost got really too real there in that promo segment. But, man, chaos was the best. And because CM Punk is there, it's controlled chaos. But what a tremendous promo segment. I think it was the best of the year so far. But when you got CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins, and now that CM Punk is going to do Kez commentary, there is so many ways you can go with this matchup here.
Yeah, there's so many ways, and we'll talk about that during the preview show. But to put in light what you said, what this showcase to me is you have three individuals now that are dangerous, not only from a physical standpoint, from what they can do in the ring, but also very dangerous in terms of in the ring. On the microphone. CM Punk, you talked about controlled chaos. I mean, the last thing you want is a live microphone CM Punk. That's the last thing, because you can't control it. You know what he's going to say is going to throw you a curveball, and you have to be ready to hit it. But when you have a professional like Seth Rollins in there, I'll give credit where credit is due with Seth. I think he's done a great job in terms of everything that CM Punk is throwing at him. He's throwing right back at him as well. And then somebody like Drew McIntyre, who, let's be honest, man, if it wasn't for CM Punk getting injured, he wouldn't have an opportunity like this at all. I strongly feel that way. And he has taken this opportunity and he has hit a home run and has run with it, because now he has clued himself into that ability where individuals have looked at Drew McIntyre and have said, oh, he's good in the ring, but, I don't understand him. He doesn't do good promos. There's nothing about him that I can relate to. Now I can relate to Drew McIntyre. Everything that I saw in him, I thought he had the potential of doing, he is living out, and he's doing tremendous at doing. So one of the best segments on Raw, other than the beatdown in the opening shot with Cody and Rock, because it drew people. Every single time one of these guys said something, you got that ooh and oh, or how are you going to come back from that? And that's what you want. You want compelling, reactionary, and also honest, committed controversy and dialogue as well going on. And that's what you got.
Obviously you did, and obviously I'm looking forward to that, because now there's so many possibilities. And again, we'll save our thoughts about this one and where it could go to, where it could lead to, for our WrestleMania preview show coming up early this week coming up. So make sure you check that out too. Lots of stuff going on, man, and just want to make sure that you guys follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast, and also here, like and subscribe on the Give Us a Shot Network, powered by Fast Break Coffee. Trendsetter. But then also, to the man, Becky Lynch is on her book tour. Obviously, some great stuff from that. Obviously, going to go get that book, because it seems like it's going to be a very popular read. But let's talk about her and Rhea Ripley. Obviously, I wanted to get on here last week and talk about Rhea Ripley, who is just breaking all kinds of social media with her stink face, the greatest stink face of all time on WWE live events, on Nia Jax. And obviously, obviously no reason to tell you. Just it's out there, the video. It's just amazing, and you'll find out why it is the greatest stink face of all time. But now it's personal. Now it's one woman trying to save this business because she feels like she's progressed it to an extent. And you have Rhea Ripley, who's just having fun, and now is looking just to add another notch to her belt in Becky Lynch. To me, this is Becky Lynch, I guess, trying to save what she feels like she's progressed women's wrestling into, and not go back to the days of the bra and panties matches and seeing women just as objects. So I get it. I think it's tremendous. I love the fact that Becky Lynch was really opened up to Ariel Helwani in that interview. I think that was great. And then finding out she's only got 2 months left on her contract too. So a lot here to digest on Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. But are you now even more excited for this matchup at WrestleMania?
I would say more exciting. I knew this was going to be a good match, regardless of the storyline behind it. And the original storyline behind it was that Becky wanted to test herself to see that she thinks she's one of the best. But seeing somebody in terms of Rhea Ripley and where she's progressing her career, where she's at currently now, can she live up to that hype? Not necessarily Rhea Ripley, but can Becky still live up to the hype that she's garnered herself as the man? Right. Add in the whole thing with Ariel Helwani, and again, listen, I'll leave my opinions of what I think about Ariel Helwani though. But the mere fact that she has 2 months left in her contract, doesn't surprise me. It doesn't. Again, I know things are like that are said when people are like, "Ooh, what could happen? Could she go to AEW? Can she join Mercedes Monet? Or because she only has 2 months in her contract, is that now a foreshadowing that Rhea's going to win now?" A lot of things like that happen, especially around WrestleMania time anyway, so that's not a surprise to me. In terms of Becky using the fact that Rhea Ripley doing that stink face on Nia Jax and breaking the internet with that, which is very funny, very entertaining. Obviously, if you're a guy, you loved it ridiculously. You love that, watching that over and over again on Twitter, right? Wishing you were Nia Jax. Becky using that as the fact that she's being the savior and using this to prevent the WWE women's division from going back to a dark time that she was a part of, that she worked really hard to change. I get her point, but again, at this point, I don't think one stink face is going to necessarily turn back all the work that's been done with individuals like Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, et cetera, et cetera. But I see that's where they're going. But that doesn't need to be told in order to sell me on this one. To have Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch on the card face to face, first time in a really long time since NXT that these two are going to face each other, that's selling enough. So Becky, sometimes I think she says is very hypocritical in terms of she's done when she was a heel, but whatever, I'll let things slide in terms of that one. I'll give her a freebie on that one, because at the same time, the same could have been said about Becky, about her regressing in the women's division too, in terms of her and her rivalry with Charlotte Flair, and just the personal animosity there was between the two of them that I could obviously dive into. I won't here for time constraint purposes, but it doesn't make me want to see it more. But again, it creates more layers, more intrigue in watching it, because now it's getting more personal between the two of them. They're taking more shots at each other, leading to WrestleMania. So it definitely makes it more exciting.
I will say one thing too. One of the matches that has kind of taken the back seat is Bailey's run here,
Yep.
because obviously we got to see on SmackDown, which we didn't touch on the SmackDown Lowdown, but this actually brings it to me here, is we finally got Bailey with the reactionary attack on Io Sky while Io Sky was doing an interview. You got that backstage segment where they fought, had to be separated. But man, I just wish there was just a little bit more time given to this Bailey and Io Sky, because I just think it will mean a lot more for Bailey if or when she wins it at WrestleMania, for there just to be a little bit more time dedicated to, because I think it's going to be a great moment, but I think it just could have been, because now there's no going back now. You're here, you've given it you should have given it more time. There's no going back. Now it's you kind of wish that there was more time given, because that WrestleMania moment, while it's going to feel good, again, the story could have been better.
Listen, I think that when we talk during our preview show, the theme of what's going to be happening, that you and I'll be talking about it, and I'll kind of draw to it now, is that all these storylines and all these matches that we'll be dissecting, the one thing is, all of them could have used a little bit more time. Even the Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. But unfortunately, there's not enough, so you have to make do with the time you have and the moments you have, though, too. I think they've done a great job, but I think when you're building up a match like Cody and Roman, you're building up Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk involved in here, Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch. As much as the excitement was behind originally when we were talking about the Royal Rumble with Bailey winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania and kind of being that person that created Damage Control, and now her mission is to destroy Damage Control. I don't think it's going to be done in one night. So, is whether she wins it or not, I don't know. But that was my biggest fear, that was going to get lost in the shuffle, which has happened. We can talk about Jay and Jimmy. All these things needed more time, but unfortunately, there are not enough hours in the day for that to happen. So we have to make do with what we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one too that I just wish I had a little bit more time besides just run-ins. You just kind of wish there was a little bit more
Yeah.
banter back and forth on the mic there. That one need definitely a little bit more mic time, for sure. All right,
Yeah, less yeep on the mic, but yeah, definitely more mic time.
yeet or no yeet? That is the question, my friend. All right, Trendsetter. So now we've kind of talked about the past few weeks of Raw and SmackDown. Let's talk about the last few weeks for AEW Dynamite. And let's just talk about, well, before we do that, though, Trent, remember this Monday, today, you're going to see The Rock and Roman Reigns in Brooklyn, the final Raw before WrestleMania, the Tribal Chief and the final boss in Brooklyn. My God, you thought last week should have been the go home show. What is going to happen? Now, remember, Trendsetter, there's going to be expectations because this is the final Raw before WrestleMania. So it's going to be amazing. Going to look forward to watching this one. Again, the final Raw before WrestleMania, the Tribal Chief, and the final boss. So I'm just expecting 3 hours of just craziness because all the players are going to be there on Raw.
Just do yourself a favor, Jeff. Don't compare it to last week because again,
Hey, well, I mean that's
the bar is set really high. So it's like, here, let's be fair here. It's sometimes you can't get back to back home runs all the time, but with Rock and Roman, you should expect it.
I'm glad you said the bar was so high because now we go into AEW Dynamite.
Yeah.
We'll talk about where the bar, I don't know where it's being raised, but again, we're talking Dynamite. And I think one thing that I want to say here is before I fall into the trap of social media and I start, I guess, cheering for the sides of the people that kind of are anti AEW right now, first and foremost, let's just put it out there again, and we're going to put it out there. We were on the bandwagon. We were at that point where we were sick of what WWE was doing. We wanted to change as well. And when AEW came along, well, it's even before AEW came along, where Cody and the Bucks and Kenny were taking wrestling, and it was just this feeling, right? I think that's the goodwill that was drawn out of the fans towards what ended up being AEW. And now, as we head to AEW, I've told you this before. I wonder what is the end game as far as being a business. And I thought that it was to make money. That's just the corporate guy in me. That's just the ambitious guy in me. That's just, I think that every red blooded American wants to do is make money. So I kind of scratched my head with what AEW has been doing the last, since they lost CM Punk, because I just think it's been fail after fail. Now, I wanted to give this Mercedes Moné debut a little bit more time, but now I totally despise the letter CEO. Thank you for making me hate those 3 letters in the alphabet. I was triggered because I thought they were knocking off Gunther's theme song a little bit, which is not truly his anymore, but okay. And then they bring her on commentary, and just every kind of booking aspect kind of bothers me to the fact that this is all just done wrong because it just we could do a whole other episode. But to summarize it, Mercedes Moné debuts. Kazuchika Okada recently debuted, and now he's a champion. Edge, Adam Copeland, is now a champion. So, as much as all this change is going on, and you have a new set and you have new colors, you brought back the entrance ramp, entrances for the heels and the good guys and the bad guys. And much as you've done this, and much as you're signing ex executives from WWE, you're bringing in writers, you're bringing in a live event people that worked for WWE. As much as you're trying to change, you're still the same in the aspect of the booking, and it shows because there's one thing to having consistent ratings, but then there's also to see the decline. And to summarize it, it went from 800,000 and it's all the way down to 749, which was the last episode. And Trendsetter, it is disheartening because I'm not rooting against AEW. I think, again, the business needs it. but explain it to me how you can consistently, and this is what I would love to ask Andrew Zarian. You come on the show and you say, well, WB loves this. WB is supports Tony Khan. WB loves the content. You have Ring of Honor that's going nowhere. You're going to eventually try to stream this on HBO Max. You're trying to do all these things and you're being ho-hum and you're talking about how the executives are full board with AEW. In what freaking world am I living in where mediocrity to below mediocrity is lauded? I don't understand it. And as much as you sign the next big free agent, and obviously to me, this is Mercedes Moné saying this is less work, less show, less work, more pay, a time for me to heal my body before in 3 years I go back to WWE, right? And a lot of people have that sentiment too because she obviously said it, folks. I'm not making this up. I'm making this up. So at the end of the day, with the low ratings and you continue to sign people because this is your toy, you don't really want to make a profit. What is going on with AEW? Can you see this turning around anytime soon?
Oh, it's hard to hang on to that.
Yeah.
But for me, do I see it getting any better? Do I see it added on to it? Jeff, let's be honest. What you said in the beginning too, like I've been a fan of AEW since it started. I'm still a fan of AEW despite what people might think in terms of what I'm talking about. The thing is, we can't deny what we're seeing. The ratings and the numbers are they are. Now, if you have an owner here that is just not paying attention to the numbers, people on the roster excited to be on the roster because someone like Mercedes Moné says, hey, it's less work, more pay. Hey, that's the philosophy that you're putting down there in the locker room, that it's less work and it feels more like buddy in terms of the booking. What more can you do in terms of this? I don't know. I don't think it becomes a scenario where it depends like who's the next free agent signing, who's the next person you're going to put on your roster to draw more attention, more eyes. And for individuals that say that, board executives are liking this, I don't understand it. I don't get how it's still profitable in terms of if you have the bank and the financial capability of keeping it afloat, then you're really not going to see much of a change in terms of leadership. Tony Khan has been one of the biggest components in terms of why AEW is so successful in the beginning. But now, in my opinion, he's being one of the detriments of why it's struggling the way it is, because it's really, and one of the themes too, I think it's like we're the best wrestle here. Okay, cool. If you're saying your demographic's going to be wrestling, and you're going out there and going from one direction to the other, and it's constantly changing where characters are going from heels to baby faces and baby faces to heels, and you're trying to create storylines that don't make sense, but then you just want to focus on wrestling, then maybe that's what they need to do, is just focus on wrestling. And anything else that is kind of like sophomoric humor, keep it on another show, keep it on Rampage, or keep it on something else in terms of what you're trying to do. I don't know what more they can do. It really becomes more of a staffing issue in terms of who is doing the booking and who is really putting the show together.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem right now. I want AEW to be successful. I want them to continue on. I want them to have TV deals and extensions and maybe going to HBO Max on a streaming platform. But in terms of the product and what they're producing out there, whether we're looking at the numbers or you're looking at people taking videos and posting them on social media, the audience attendance there, and people will always say, oh, that's prior to it and that's before people get in the arena. That's a bunch of bull, and people know it. You cannot deny that fact of what's going on there, and it's becoming a serious issue, in my opinion. And if it's not taken seriously, we can run a scenario, or not anytime soon right now, because they have the money to back themselves up, to keep themselves afloat and to keep themselves going for a good period of time. But if it's not taken care of, it's not drawn or addressed, and the reality of situations not brought to people's attention, then it's going to continue struggling, and there doesn't seem to be any solution anytime soon that's going to change it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously you're pointing out the obvious. Obviously, again, my nitpicking and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not even nitpicking. It's just obvious stuff that, for example, just the presentation of guys like Hook. Kyle O'Reilly looks like a guy who should be mopping up floors in the back. Because look at the way he's being presented too. Like, I love Kyle O'Reilly. I love Adam Cole. But you take a look at the streaming platform, and I got shit on that platform because I'm body shaming Body Cole. No. There's a difference between body shaming and just pointing out the obvious. Adam Cole looks like he's a $145, okay, if that, soaking wet. I mean, there's one thing about being injured because your ankle is messed up, but I've seen guys come back jacked. All right. And yes, I'm not expecting a Triple H body. I'm not even expecting, I don't know. I'm not even expecting Roderick Strong's body, right? I'm expecting when he was in NXT, he looked like a star. I remember he came out, and yes, there's a height difference between him and Drew McIntyre, but he came out and he had the tan. He had the guy looks probably in the worst shape ever. But I'm not body shaming the dude, but I'm just being obviously. You want to be presentable, even if you're outside the ring. You want to come out and look presentable. So that's all I'm going to say is that they really need to pick it up there as far as booking, as far as everything, because we want the product to succeed. All right, Trendsetter, it is WrestleMania week. We are on the road to WrestleMania. Obviously, 2 new matches have come up, and we've got also the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. We've got the Hall of Fame that's going to come up, but you know what we got coming up? We got a WrestleMania preview show coming out, of course. This week too, we'll preview WrestleMania, get in depth on the matches as well, and of course the betting odds. Of course, you gamblers, we're gonna hook you up there too. We'll give you the betting odds as well, but we'll get our final predictions for WrestleMania as we're here. It's time. We are not even on the road. We are actually set. We're on the way. We got so many announcements too, so make sure you stay on our social media. We got one major announcement coming up early during the week for WrestleMania. So if you like WrestleMania parties, you definitely want to make sure that you find the biggest one of the night of that weekend, and that's going to be the one that we're going to be a part of too. And we'll make that announcement this week as well. So make sure you find out about that as well. But we are on that road, Trendsetter. It is WrestleMania week. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew, and then close it as only you can, but make sure you give us a like and subscribe. We are powered by Fast Break Coffee here on the Give Us a Shot Network. Like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will make sure you get all our contact this week. But Trendsetter, do what you do best. Close out this mofo.
Well, if you're saying it that way, I have no choice, right, Jeff? Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this episode. We're the Jersey Wreck Crew. For the scoundrel Jeff Martin, I'm the Trendsetter Brian Berger. Thank you guys so much. One more way, the preview show that I've been looking forward to so long in anticipation to break down WrestleMania. One more to go before we're actually in Philadelphia, guys. We thank you for that. And remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
WrestleMania, baby. It's here. Let's go.